formulating its dogma on infallibility, found 41 errors made by popes, previous popes to Vatican I. The dogma does not say that a pope can't make an error. What it says is when he speaks ex cathedra, that is to the whole church, universal church, on a matter of faith and morals, and it's binding on everyone, that is what is infallible.
Right. I wasn't raising the issue of infallibility at all. My question was, if we are going to assume that there is a uniform 2,000-year-old doctrine, as you have asserted in both the debates we've done on this subject, doesn't it strike you as at least somewhat strange that the Bishop of Rome would be unaware of an apostolic tradition that at that point would be a minimum of 420 to 450 years of age?
He might have been aware of it and just didn't agree with it. But he would be one of the very rare people in those days that didn't agree with it. And that was my point to you before, was that you can't pick an isolated case out and just because it's a pope, think you have some weight with that. He's an isolated case. I can give you reams of information about people surrounding his very time that believe just the opposite of what he believed.
And yet, of course, when you say that believe just the opposite, you are interpreting these particular words within the context of modern Roman Catholic dogma, are you not? Are you not aware of many historians, both of non-Catholic and Catholic persuasion, that believe that this teaching and belief was something that developed slowly over time?
I don't know too many doctrines in the Catholic Church that haven't developed over time, but that does not take away from the fact that they were believed in their essence in the early periods. And again, if you want to read Not by Bread Alone, page 141, you'll see all the words they use were transubstantiation among the Greeks and Latins, and all the times that the fathers talked about sacrifice of the Mass and things of that nature. But to say that because they developed, somehow they were not legitimate doctrines in the beginning of time is fallacious.
So when you say that they use those words in such a way as to represent transubstantiation, since transubstantiation requires the philosophical basis of believing in accidents and substance and things like that, is it your assertion that all of these fathers actually held to Aristotelian philosophical categories and understood these things?
No, actually, Aristotelian categories are only helps to understand a very complicated issue. The fathers and the medievals took the stance that the Scripture said, "This is my body." That's what they began with. That's called de fide. That means that they start with that issue, that this is Christ's body. Then they have to try to explain how that can be. One of the helps to that was Aristotelian metaphysics of substance and accidents, but that doesn't mean that the church is dependent on that. That was just the best mental concept we had at the time to try to understand what was occurring in the transubstantiation.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, Mr. Sungenis, getting to the, I think, most important issue, you have said, have you not, that the sacrifice of Christ is perfect?
Can you define perfect for me?
I was just asking whether I believe you made that specific assertion in your presentations, that it is a perfect sacrifice, and yet you just said it is being worked out over time. I guess my question is what you would mean when you say, and you did say that it is a perfect sacrifice, in light of the fact that I don't believe it's a bone of contention between us, that a person can approach to the Mass many times in their life and yet not be perfected by it.
Well, who says they're not being perfected? Perfected can be understood in a progressive sense as well as it can be understood in a stative sense.
So is it your perspective then that in Hebrews chapter 10, when the apostle speaks of the sacrifice of Christ, and he uses this very term in verse 14, for by one offering he has perfected for all time. What does perfected for all time mean to you?
Well, what's the object of perfected? It doesn't give one, does it?
Yes, it does.
What?
Those who are sanctified, which, when you go back to chapter 10, or verse 10, is by this will we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once for all.
Okay, that would just fit into my previous explanation that the sanctification, as you well know, is a process, is it not?
So you believe that verse 14 means, for by one offering he has perfected for all time those who will be sanctified?
It says are sanctified.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm just, so the sanctification that you're seeing here is sanctification in, say, growth and holiness or something like that, then what is the sanctification in verse 10?
Sanctified is being used as a noun. It's talking about the group of people that are sanctified, and his perfect sacrifice is being applied to them. It doesn't say that these people that are sanctified now are going to be saved in the future. It doesn't say that they won't fall away in the future. It doesn't say anything like that. It just says that this perfect sacrifice is applied to these people that are sanctified. That's all it says.
Well, again, isn't perfected the verb that has as its subject, he has perfected?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What do you
What does it mean that he
It
has?
depends.
Are you not saying he will?
It depends on what is being perfected. That's what that's why I asked you the question, what's the object of perfected? You said it was the sanctified. The sanctified are not the object. They're the things that the perfected thing is being applied to. But what is the thing that's being perfected is my question to you, if I can ask a question.
Well, I was going to ask you, as I pointed out, verse 10, by this will, by this testament, we have been sanctified to the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once for all. It sounds to me like you're using the term sanctified in two different ways within just a few words of themselves.
No, because the phrase once for all has a particular meaning in this context, as you well know. It doesn't mean that the sanctification is once for all. How could it be if sanctification is a process, which you agree to?
I didn't agree to that, but so yes, once for all is a temporal adverb, is it not?
Do you not agree that sanctification is a process?
Not as it's being used by the writer of Hebrews here. It means to be set apart and made holy.
Okay, but do you not agree that that's a process also?
That's not the writer of the Hebrews' purpose here, which is what I'm asking about, since it says that it is the result of the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once that results in a past tense sanctification in verse 10, being set apart and made holy. How then can that fit in verse 14 when you throw it into the future and say, if we die sanctified, then Christ's sacrifice will perfect us?
Well, because as you well know, we don't interpret this one passage. As you say, we interpret the whole Bible, do we not?